Hi there. So I have been dying to try some recipes from this cookbook, which is from supposedly 1508 and southwest India. It's the Soopa Shastra of Mangaratha III, was apparently a ruler of this region, where it was perfectly typical for rulers and kings and men to serve on important occasions. And it's interesting because it comes from a community that was Jain, and so it's very strictly vegetarian. Some things are in here which are not considered okay for Jains today, like onions, which have many lives because they sprout over and over again. But otherwise, it looks pretty much like a completely vegetarian dish, although it contains ghee, which is milk, but that's okay. It doesn't harm the animal. The whole idea is that nothing you consume should show violence toward anything, or at least the least amount of violence that you can, and plants are okay because because you need to live, right? So let me explain the recipe, and I'll give you an idea. It's a plantain curry, which is weird. I think of plantains as being Caribbean, and that's, but they're actually, indigenous to this area. I found them here in the supermarket. The recipe doesn't say whether to use green plantains or ripe plantains, but I think ripe makes a little more sense. Although the combination of flavors is sort of interesting. It's got plantains and onion and mango and coriander and spices and coconut and sesame. So I'm really intrigued just to see what it will taste like. So the thing starts by actually boiling these. I don't think they're going to need much boiling, so I'm just going to put them into boiling water right here and parboil them very briefly. I don't know whether that was something you would need to do if you're using an unripe plantain, but I don't know, that's what we're going with. And then it says boil plantain pieces just sufficiently. I don't know what that means, but I'm just going to parboil them. And then add to that the following. Ginger, I left the ginger in here, hang on. Here we go, ginger, onion, minutely cut coriander leaves. So I've got that there. Curry leaves I couldn't find, but that's the only ingredient I'm gonna leave out. Raw mango pieces, parched gingerly oil seeds, and that turns out gingerly is the word for sesame in India, and pepper and grated coconut, and then that whole thing is sort of bathed in ghee, and it forms a kind of curry. And I'm just intrigued to know what these flavors will look like together. So I'm just peeling some ginger here. And hopefully I'm going to put this in the pan, put all this stuff in the pan, and then add the plantains when they are parboiled. So there goes, this is my ginger here. I think that should be enough. I put about 6 little coins of ginger. I think that should add enough flavor. I'm going to chop that up like that. Throw that in. Throw in, I don't think I need this whole onion. I'm probably going to use half of it. Should be okay. And it says pieces, so I don't think a fine dice makes sense. And I'm trusting that the translators had some idea of, exactly what they were doing. But I'm just going to put in pieces like that. I'm going to put in some mango pieces, and I think with this I can just score this like this. I'm going to get that little bit of pit out. It's a little underripe, but that should be okay for cooking. And then that weird trick where you just kind of, that didn't work, but you know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to throw those pieces into the pan also. And if you can't see what I'm doing here, let me just turn this direction so you can see the pan where everything is going in now. And my mango pieces are coming out fine. Okay, A little skin in there. Hang on. Take that off. So far, it seems really strange, doesn't it? Okay, and I'm going to put in the pieces of plantain that have just been very slightly boiled, so they're a little soft. I'm going to put a heat on this, and as it says, add some ghee. I'm really perplexed by this recipe, to tell you the truth, but I like it. I like the whole idea of it. So I'm putting in 2 tablespoons of ghee. I'm putting in the gingerly seeds nicely. I'm putting in some coconut, which is what it called for, and the coriander, or cilantro as we call it, which says minutely chopped. So I'm chopping over here, as you can't see, but this is what I'm doing. And let me tell you why I'm doing this. Is I am cooking this week in Australia for Thanksgiving. I know it's terrible, but and I'm cooking a whole handful of recipes from this particular cookbook. And ultimately, I hope to be I'm doing another whole series for the Great Courses. And this, I'm going to feature this cookbook in one entire episode, cooking, I don't know, maybe half a dozen recipes from it. So I want to get used to, I want to try them all out, you know, just to see what they're like. Now here's the other perplexing thing. Add flavoring powders. I have no idea what that means, but I'm thinking, along with native kind of seasoning and what goes into curry, that's what the recipe calls it, I'm going to add a little bit of fenugreek, a little bit of turmeric, that will certainly give it the color, and a little bit of ground cumin. I think that should season, and it also says sugar. So I'm going to give it a teaspoon of sugar for sweetness. And the one thing that no recipe in this cookbook calls for, but I'm pretty sure would be included, is salt. So I'm adding, I might need to add more salt. I'm not sure what it needs, but I add a little salt to that. And I'm just going to give this a stir. As you can see, I think this may turn out really nice. Let me get in a little spatula here. I'm not sure they would have tossed it like this, but what the hell. And I don't know how long this is supposed to cook, but it certainly does look like a curry at this point. I think maybe let's just give it a minute to come together, and I think this should actually be interesting. So the other very interesting thing about this cookbook and the whole religion and food culture of Jainism is a religion founded about the same time as Buddhism. It's the one that takes this principle of nonviolence to its absolute extreme, meaning that there's an ascetic tradition in the religion, and people will actually, be celibate, not drink alcohol, not actually even drink fermented beverages, risen bread, because you're actually killing the microorganisms in there, and they're living things too, right? An ascetic, a serious, very, very strict Jain will put a cloth over their mouth so they don't accidentally breathe in bugs. They'll walk with a broom in front of them to brush away insects, which I find, kind of amazing, because Buddhism, has this whole principle of ahimsa, but of course, Buddhists do eat meat. Many sects of Buddhism eat meat, and in Jainism you don't. So I'm not sure how far to take this. I want to get out the rawness of the onion, but apart from that, I think it looks like a really, really interesting dish, and I'm just gonna taste it now. See what this is like. That's remarkably tasty. It doesn't taste like banana, as you can imagine. The plantain is starchier. But the plantain is soft now. The pre-boiling actually worked fine. And the flavors come together beautifully. This is a keeper.